Good evening. Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Welcome to the TBNK board meeting for the month of July. We can start off with a roll call. Jamila, if you'd like to start.
Jamila Salah, Covington.
Joe Darty, Park Hills.
Dave Schroeder, Ludlow.
Tony Knoll, Covington.
I'm Tim Burring. I'm the Executive Director of the Telecommunications Board.
Good evening, I'm Beth Sewell, representing Kenton County.
Good evening, Phil Pierce, City of Taylor Mill.
Jeff Schreiber, City of Edgewood.
Okay, now if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to exercise momentary executive privilege and wish a happy 20th birthday to my granddaughter, Sophia Matone.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Salute.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Imagine that.
I'll make the motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second it.
second by Beth.
Any questions or objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next would be the approval of the minutes from the May 21st, 2025 meeting. I'll take a motion to accept those whenever someone is ready. Dave?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Motion by Jeff,
I can second.
second by Jamila.
Okay. Any questions or objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now, the item number 4 is approval of the financials from TBNK and CPC for the months of May and June 2025.
And if I may just point out, we were significantly better than what we had budgeted this year as far as expenses, significantly lower, about 26,000 instead of over 100. So as far as the operating difference. And
Say that again, that was a little confusing.
Yeah, so
The
our-
number part.
Right, the operating difference would have been over $100,000 in the red.
In the red,
We're like
okay, yeah.
26,000. So
Wow.
we started with 532,000. In the bank, we have 506.
Okay, so we're 70,000 to the good,
Yeah,
under my tenure.
probably even better. Yes,
It's good to know, all right.
and mentoring.
Okay,
So that's kind of nice to see, and there's any number of areas where we saved on some staffing costs and some legal costs and some of the bigger chunks. And
well,
some
thank you for that,
some
and thank you to all the
insurance and
staff,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
including James for his efforts.
Yes,
That's a
absolutely.
significant reduction.
Yep.
I know that having these bi-monthly meetings, it's, there's a lot of data to take on board, and I don't expect, honestly, that everybody digests everything about it. So we are taking a leap of faith, a little bit.
Sure.
Anyway, so, having said all of that and distanced myself appropriately, we can have a motion to accept the financials.
I'll move to
Second.
accept the financials
Okay.
for May and June.
Motion by Phil,
Second.
second by Joe, our treasurer. How appropriate.
Any questions or comments?
When I was signing checks, when it was aware that we had more service charges on our old method of doing it, where we run stuff through the credit card, I want to go on ahead and get permission from the board for us to use ACH payments for vendors which would otherwise be charging us service charges on our credit card use. 3% significant amounts when we add it to our utilities and that sort of
Okay.
stuff.
The way I hear you saying that, Joe, that you would like that to be in a separate motion.
Related to the financials. That's
Correct.
why I stuck it in that place.
Well, let's, just for the sake of clarity, let's go ahead and do it as a separate motion.
Okay.
And let's continue with the second that we have to approve the financials for the 2 months.
I had the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe made the second, yeah. So
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Joe, you want to hold on to that until we get down to new business, or do you want to do it now?
I can hold on to it if you want me to.
Well, you're halfway there. Let's just do it now.
When I had discussed it with Tim, he had some concern in the past about the fact that the ACHs, but the ACHs can be restricted to just the utilities that we know that we're paying. So when Lisa's going through the bills, if it is that sort of we have stuff that which has significant service charges, she'd bring it up and sort of request permission for Tim to go on ahead and add those additional ACHs to make it possible. It does make it so that I need to go on ahead and review all the cash outs in addition to just signing checks. But I was sort of aware of that from signing checks the last couple of times, that I need to see more than just a stack of checks when I'm doing that.
Can I interrupt and give you a little background and detail to help with this a little bit? We have, for most of my 25 years here and previous to me getting here, always just done stuff by the typical old-fashioned, like you might do it, well, not even at home much anymore, but we would get paper invoices from companies, and we would pay by check. And you may recall a year and a half, 2 years ago, Lisa had suggested we get more electronic and modern. I know Jamila was involved in that conversation and said, look, that's the way we do it these days. And so, but there was some trepidation that I heard from the board back then of, hey, you know, stuff can disappear, security issues, all those things, sort of things. So what we did is we told the board at the time, we would not turn on ACH because that can go out anywhere. And we would just turn on book transfers, which are just between our accounts. They can't go outside the organization. And therefore, we were still paying stuff by check or by credit card. And we were paying Duke by check. But a few months ago, Duke lost the check and then wanted to shut us off when they didn't get payment in time. We had to chase them around, and we said, we're not doing it anymore. Let's just pay by credit card. But as Joe says, then they started charging us a convenience fee for the credit card. So that's what we're dealing with, is a somewhat new problem. And Joe had mentioned this, and we talked about it a little bit, so I did call the bank, and they said you can turn on ACH, and you can put a filter on it to where it's only approved for Duke or whichever groups we want to approve for, so it can't just go out anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can have a dual approval where it gets placed, and then it gets sent to me for approval. And then Joe can check as treasurer, which I think what he's saying here is he'd want to see sort of the bank statements each month to kind of cross-check against that when he comes and signs checks.
So
Am I
basically,
saying
it's
that
like
right,
two
Joe?
signatures on a check.
Pardon me?
Is what you're saying, like two signatures on a check.
Well, in a way,
'Cause two
it's-
people are
right. Two people have to
approving
do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Our bookkeeper, Lisa would initiate it, and then I would approve it through the banking portal with them. So, but Joe would want to look at it when he comes in.
Right,
Am
so
I
technically, it's three people.
right?
Well,
right.
true,
We've got a
yes.
board
Yeah.
Which
member,
Yes.
our treasurer.
50%
Yeah.
safer than it otherwise was going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, yeah. So did I say that about right for you, Joe,
I'm
summarizing what we're
happy
talking
with
about
it.
here?
I'm happy with that discussion.
Yeah, so the difference here is that we'd be turning on the ACH, but I think Joe is comfortable that the bank tells us we can have the filter and have the approval. So I think that's what Joe's asking the board. Is that good? We probably want to have some sort of vote. I certainly didn't want to do that without board approval because,
Right.
security and all that sort of stuff. So-
I just want to throw my 2 cents in, like in my company, it's auto ACH. We do
Yeah.
not go through and do it every month. It's just done.
And it comes out, kind of like
Yeah,
your
you get a
paycheck
bill,
automatically comes in
You get a
every month.
bill, and then you can compare it, yes, it was the correct amount. So it's less work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be more than happy to say, let's just do that, and it's less work for everyone involved. You still approve the bill, you look at the bill, and then you look and make sure it's the correct amount taken out. And I don't know who's doing the books.
So a member of the administrative staff at your business approves the payment of the bill?
Right, reviews it,
Right,
and it's paid.
right.
There is that someone in
I-
your company's
I don't
checking
know that
it
we're
before
supposed
it's
to do
paid,
that, are
is
we?
what you're saying.
Yeah.
With an
Yeah.
administrative
Yeah.
staff person?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Jeff, if I'm understanding Jeff correctly, he's saying that, for example, the bill comes in from Duke, the administrative staff person reviews it and authorizes the payment.
I think what would happen is the bill would come in, as you say.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff, is that correct that
They review the bill, but it's automatic debit. It's an auto
Okay.
debit.
He's
We
talking
do
about a
not
different
do-
thing.
Somebody
I
does
am-
not physically go
yeah.
in and make the payment.
okay.
Is that, I am squeamish about doing it in that direction. I used to have an account with UPS, and so they pick up the packages or whatever, and then they just take money out of my account each month. But, you know, it kind of makes me a little nervous just sort of saying they can take money out of my account when they feel like
Yeah,
it.
my problem with that is we've, not often, but occasionally you have something that gets misbilled or misdone, and then it's an act of Congress to get the company to respond and refund things.
So, the way Tim outlined it, I think, will make it so I don't have this extra expenses, which was making me squirm. And
Yeah.
makes it so Tim feels secure enough that he feels like we were unlikely to have a misadventure with the proposed plan, and will save us money.
Right.
I'm fine with baby steps.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate
Well, I
that.
think that's what it is. We're
Yeah.
taking a step in that direction.
Right.
And I totally get why you do it with your own personally owned company,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
with the board,
Right,
You
and
know,
public money.
It's public
right,
money.
Right.
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 So,
So then my question to you, Tim,
Yes.
is how would the staff react to this? It would be fine, I would suppose.
my impression is that I think Lisa and even if to whatever degree Deborah now as clerk might be helping
Right.
with some of these, I think they both like the idea.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
would
they have a
think
problem
they
with it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So somebody,
And I'll confirm that. If there's a problem, if
Yeah.
there's a problem with that they have, that I'll
then
report
come back to
Yeah.
us, yeah.
So I'll make that as a motion then?
Okay, so the
Yeah.
motion would be to activate ACH with filters and
No,
the dual.
he's making the motion.
Okay, just trying to summarize.
He's writing it.
Yeah, yeah, write it down, so.
Please proceed.
So in cases where we have service charges, we will no longer place those on a credit card, but we will have those processed by ACH to reduce fees, and the ACH will be established to have a filter so that they can't just have anybody ACH stuff out, sort of, it got.
On specific
The
accounts.
the filter sort of restricted the first part, and then Tim was also gonna co-sign on the ACHs going out.
Okay, that's a hell of a motion.
Yeah,
So, can you condense that? and
that's
then
what I
read
was
it-
trying to do.
Continue, and then read
Okay.
it back to
All right.
Joe and see
So,
if that works.
A motion to activate ACH payments with filters per vendor to reduce the convenience fees, and the second approval portion of that to be activated, so that we have two people and staff signing off on that. And that would be the motion that would be made by Joe, and then we'd need a second.
Is that what you want to say,
Yes.
Joe?
I'm happy with that, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I can second.
Okay, so motion by Joe, second by Jamila. Okay.
Any further comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and thank you, Joe, for looking at that and caring enough to follow through with it. That's encouraging.
Quite welcome.
Now we get down to the reports part.
Yes, sir.
Do we have an ultra-fiber
You'll
thing?
see in the middle of your packet, it's kind of in the middle after the budget stuff.
Okay,
It's got the red in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it's that confidential report. You can
See,
scan
see,
it,
see.
call me if you have any questions, like we always say. And then turn them back into me because we have to destroy them
Right.
for confidentiality.
does anyone have any questions about this? I think these things are interesting, but I don't know that there's really, since we're looking at them in retrospect,
Right.
Yeah.
it's a little challenging about how effective we could be with anything.
Well, and I'll tell you about this too, the first page, it's phone numbers, but there's a little bit of a get-out-jail-free card on the performance level because the FCC specifically says, oh, if you're mixed services, not just cable, you've got
Yeah.
telephone and internet, that's not
Right.
required to meet these levels. There's no customer service requirements on them. They're not compelled to separate the data between them. So anything that's not quite on, they can just say, well, that was the other stuff. So it's kind of a little bit hard to enforce exactness, but we still see some ballpark ideas that they are in kind of the range in general. They go up and down a little bit, but these certainly have been pretty good. In some cases, they're better than the specifications, so.
I always found that, I like the
Yes.
data on the back
I do too.
that tells us about the subscriber numbers and how many units are available, how many units are subscribing, and then pluses or minuses on percentages served.
Correct. I think that's the most valuable part of it, honestly, for
Yeah.
us tracking things, so.
I do too, as far as us looking forward, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Again, it's looking backward, but it's a predictor,
Yep.
possibly.
Yes, it is. You'll see trends.
It really gives you a good idea of why we have cluster cities,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's not tremendously effective, I don't think, for our governance, but it makes sense.
Yeah. A little back history for anybody that's new, and you maybe you knew enough, but I can remember when I started years ago, I was told the old board was like 21 people at every meeting.
Yeah.
And they said, you can imagine how unwieldy the discussions were and side conferences, discussions going on.
Yeah.
That's why they shrunk it, because it made better meetings, but in a way, you got this rotation of representation, though, that's sort of a counterbalance to that, so.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact, the back of the first page says that basically 12% of the houses are being served.
Well, we've got to not talk about it publicly,
uh,
so I'd be happy to review it with you after the
Okay.
meeting.
But that is, all of those are valid questions, and Tim's right. It's good information to look at now, and I don't really think we can entertain too many questions without violating the protocol. So, thank you, and if you guys can set those aside where you can find them easily, because they will need to be collected prior to your departure tonight. Man, I'm really on tonight. I'm just going, man. Okay. Let's see, now we have the CPC and the director's report. Well, CPC and director's report
Yeah,
isn't the same thing.
correct.
James has
James is making his way in.
just entered the auditorium. Good evening, James. We're ready for you when you're ready to proceed.
Thank you for joining us, everybody, tonight. You'll notice, paid attention, I changed up just a little bit of the terminology on the front page of my report. I think it made it a little bit easier. The top part is gonna be shows that are already released and you can watch now. And the bottom part is gonna be stuff that's coming up here in just the next couple of weeks, stuff that's obviously, not months out, but you can see in the next few days it'll be done. So, here recently, we filmed a new episode of City Talk. Host Chris Marconi and mayors Chris Reiderman and Paul Meyer of Crestview Hills. They came out and they talked about the Z21 zoning project from PDS. It's a nice multi-year project where they're going to go through and update a lot of zoning throughout Kitten County. We did a new episode of Inside Covington in our podcast with Pat Frew that had Kelly Rittenhausen, the executive director of the National Lieutenant Governors Association. It was a good episode. Recently up the street, if you missed it, they have a new opening of the new Kitten County branch of the library. So they had a nice grand opening and we caught up there and a bunch of remarks. Dave Schroeder's included, so get a catch of that if you haven't got to see it. Then of course our Independence coverage and our Fort Mitchell coverage of our 4th of July celebrations this year did, always do good views for us. Last year Independence was a little tight, but this year they had room for us, so it was nice to be able to do both cities. And those always get good views. I know 1,000 views might not look like a lot in the terms of the internet, but in terms of TBNK on just Facebook in a day or two, that's a lot of views. So good stuff there. And stuff you can plan to see here in the next week or two online and on our YouTube page that has been formed with parody of our on-demand and as well as our channels. We've got a few Optimist clubs coming up that focus on cybersecurity. One you'll see in a few days with Mayor Dave Hatter, gave a nice presentation, and one coming up with Kitten County Police Chief Michael Jones. It's going to be pretty good. This week we're doing a lot of coverage of the Kitten County Fair, so you'll see plenty of that here by next week. We got a new episode of Getting Down to Business with Covington's Economic Director Tom West coming up pretty soon. And then, of course, here near the end of June, we filmed Crestview Hills Summer Concert. This year, the band wanted to take the footage and mix the sound themselves, so that relieves me of time, and they're going to send us back the full thing. So you'll see that pretty soon, too, and saves me some editing time, which is pretty good. In the sense of public hours, it's nothing new there. Trend is really not anything new public use being done. You'll see in both the May programming underneath both graphs on both the back sheets of papers, there's going to be a new section that Tony would like me to add in for our podcast hours. It's kind of, I tried to bold it in the list here. There's both one for what I call public side, which is just, stuff that might be community focused, your festivals, and then government side down there is also listed. That's more, our stuff like our Inside Covington, our staff produced shows that help focus more on businesses and economic development. So, but just trying to help keep up our staff hours. From a year ago, we're still doing pretty great as far as original programming, with also helping keep that budget down, which has been pretty nice. So just trying to supplement as much of that as possible, that the public side has dropped off has really been our goal, while not racking up resource costs. So, any questions?
Yeah, say what you said again about the podcast gig.
So if you look, and I can point it out in greater detail off camera if you'd like, but under where it says both May 2025 programming hours and June 2025 programming hours, about midway down both pages.
Right.
There's a few sections that you'll see: public religious access, educational, and government access. Under both public and government, there has been podcast sections added, as we really haven't had any educational podcasts pop up. If that happens, I will add that segment in. So that is content hours. That is full content hours, different than.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes. So-
Okay. So the podcast thing is, would you say it's catching on, slowly catching on? What?
I would say right now, slowly catching on. If by the end of the year, the numbers are still the same, I'd say that, it might just be something of a novelty to people, and we should just use it, use either the room itself or the gear and repurpose it other ways for our staff-produced shows. But it's, it's definitely brought in more people the last few months than both the public cameras and the studio side, I think because of its ease of
That
entry.
bar is pretty low, right?
Yeah. Yep, definitely. So,
Okay.
Yeah, my son works for Sirius XM, and he is in the computer side, so he's trying to talk about he works with the ads and everything. And he said their largest growing sector of Sirius XM is podcasts. And it's not podcasts where you listen to them, it's podcasts that you watch on like YouTube or however they're being broadcast. So people want to watch people on these podcasts.
Okay.
So I would say it's going to continue to grow.
Lots of commercial media has been investing in podcasting because, for that reason. So they're trying to attract the content creators to their platforms to grow their podcasting.
Well, that's something we'll have to keep our eye on to make sure that we get included in the herd. And I know you're trying, but we may need to bring other forces to bear to make that. That seems to be when we talk to, at least when I talk to my city, that pricks their ears up. The podcast thing, they seem to relate to that now.
Yeah.
And it's something where we need to find a way to be relevant to continue our mission for our ratepayers.
Yeah, I did see when I was looking at the views on YouTube just to see what is being watched, and it's not these meetings.
Right, sure.
It's the podcast with, I think his name was Polly, he was the
Mike
coach at
Polly,
Dixie. His podcast was watched more than anything.
Really?
Good.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm not talking big numbers, I think
Yeah.
it was 65 or 64.
For our
but then-
YouTube channel's been there for a month though,
Yeah,
right.
And I've made a few
And
posts on it on our
micro-local
social.
programming.
Right, it's so competitive.
I've made a few posts about our YouTube on our socials and have it pinned to the top of our Facebook. Obviously, without putting any ad dollars into it, it just has to be a natural snowball
Yeah.
growth. But I do believe that, using that as parity with our other streaming platforms, treating it as equal, and then continuing to push the podcast room. I believe going into this year into football, my goal is to try to get more of these students involved in the announcing. We've usually used our own announcers in the past. I think that might be a good way to get in, and then maybe help, shoehorn into some, if you like this, we have, more additional, voice and video work that can, you can start to look into. So
That's a great idea.
I hope it's a good snowball, and that's my plan,
Yeah, I know at Covenant Catholic, they use students to do a lot of the broadcasting.
which is smart, because that's how you get them involved, and that's how they know that if they really want to do it, by the time you're, 25 or 30, it might just be a hobby, but you can really get into it and, make a good career out of it if you know what you're doing at a young age, so. Working with the schools is a big thing going forward. That's really, what I want to push forward and keep on. And, I know a big roadblock has been transportation for students. It's obviously not something we can facilitate ourselves. But I think, finding the right kind of program where, maybe a smaller group of people that the school can transport themselves, maybe we can look at that going forward, because I really do think that, if people lay their eyes on it, they would want to see it over. I think it's really just, they need to be exposed to it.
Right.
Students don't really have an idea that that kind of stuff exists, especially in their own schools here locally.
Well, and
So
I
you
think
would-
this gives you an opportunity to kind of take that school focus slightly different than we had in the past. In the past,
Yeah.
the idea was, hey, bring the students in and do curriculum-based things like use our studio for your media class. The podcast thing could just be, hey, schools, let your students know that they can do non-school activities, just come down here on their own.
Right.
Because this is the focus audience, but the school will be a good place to get our message through to student-age kids, and let them just do their own non-curriculum things. Come on in, And we've got a whole studio sitting here ready to go. They don't have to set their own up, you know? So maybe that's part of what you're thinking, but I think that's how we.
I think
Within
you were-
reason.
You were thinking about broadcasting like football
Yeah,
games,
I
right?
know.
I would
where
love
that's
to,
going.
you know, that, you know, if there's students there that want to talk about sports year round, let them come down and use it, you know, to talk
Right.
about sports when teams aren't playing. You know, bring it in and bring the players in themselves. Like I said, the biggest hurdle when I've talked to schools, talked to the athletic directors, is really transportation. You know, I don't know if maybe in the future it's a mobile podcast setup. You know, how portable can I get it where I can set up on site and go to the schools and do it? You know, do I need to lower the barrier of entry even more? So things I need to look at, because I do think that is, you know, the way forward to help get people engaged and involved.
Oh, I thought when you originally were talking about, I thought you were talking about going and doing the actual games.
We do football and
those-
basketball games, yeah.
And
you
you're
know.
gonna put those on Facebook and YouTube now?
Yeah,
or-
yes,
Okay.
oh, yes. I just meant in addition, so, you know, doing sports, you know, while we can with our meetings, always a part of our schedule. I'm just thinking in addition, what other things, you know, are there times when sports aren't so heavy that those students can come down and get involved and do things in the podcast room, but being there on site doing the sports is a good, you know, good face time to help introduce and get that out to them, because otherwise, you know, I was, you know, that age not too long ago. I know how it is to just be in a room when some stranger comes in and tries to give you a speech on something. You don't want to really sit there. You want to get your hands on it. You want to actually get involved. So
Yeah, but this is very relevant to what's going on today, so.
that's my goal. So
I'd even throw this out. Over the years, we used to have some pretty good success working with local civic and community service organizations, and we'd always talk about them as program partners, and they would come and occasionally do some studio shows or do the typical field stuff. But there was a barrier to entry even for them trying to work with that equipment. I'm not sure that that's still not a good audience to say, hey, just come on, drop by, and we flip this thing on, and you're doing a podcast. You
Yeah.
don't have to learn a studio or
Right,
field
right.
cameras. I think we could still mine that avenue too, as well, you know, as we meet people like that. You know, whether you talk with the folks at Honk again, or we talk with Community Action Commission that's coming in using equipment, different groups like that, say, hey, we've got a podcast studio here,
Yeah.
you know, and reach out and find some others that we haven't talked to in a while, you know.
Yeah.
So, those kinds of groups, you know. So,
and,
great
you know,
neighborhoods, maybe, you know.
Well, and
Do it.
career development is an interest of mine. Getting young people interested in a field that they might not have access to on this level, even though it's still relatively basic.
Yeah. So I do want to say one thing, James, appreciate the efforts getting the YouTube thing started quickly after the request, Matt, last meeting to
No
do that.
worries.
It's got some good playlists up there, and we're starting to grow it, so.
Good.
I would say my last comment would be if there's things that you all or people you know would like to see covered that, you know, TB&K hasn't done in the past, let's try to branch out and, you know, bring the ideas forward. You know, there's nothing we want to turn down. We don't know it's going to get views until we film it and it doesn't get views, you know, so it could be a hit. So,
Okay.
any questions?
Comments?
Well,
That's
I
how
have
Ronald
another
Reagan
comment
started,
that
wasn't it?
I'd like to see.
That's how Ronald Reagan started?
Excuse me?
That's how Ronald Reagan started, wasn't it?
Well, you know, he had quite the career, so.
So on the YouTube channel, it's not these meetings that are getting the hit, so I would say do not put any of those on, but just put them as they come, but don't add them. But I was wanting to know if you had videos or shows that you thought were high viewership that you might add that were like, let's say you did it a year ago,
Mhm.
or the video that you did that you won awards on, maybe add those. Because I think those are the things that are gonna get the hits.
Absolutely. And I've gone back and started to add some of the older videos. I've limited how far back I've gone as far as, you know, we've in the last couple of years, I've really tried to get us to a more of a visual standard as far as out in the field with our videos. So I've tried to be a little selective with quality controls, what's going up there, but I definitely still I've not ended putting up older videos. It's just been one of those things that's on my docket that I do when I have some extra time besides the meeting. So the meetings don't get the views there, but I get a like on everyone now or there. It doesn't take me any time to add up the meetings, so I don't have any issue them being on there, but I agree that it's not what's getting the views. I definitely agree with that.
Well, I
Jeff,
think
so.
once people realize they're on there, because right now you have to go either to the website or the app or to Facebook to watch them.
Mhm. So it'll be a snowball of, letting people know. I've been letting our part-timers, try to remind the cities when they go out in the last month, since it's been up, like, hey, you can watch them there too. I don't know how many people actually see our Facebook versus how many like it. I know we've got about 1,200 likes. I know Facebook drastically limits how much actually see a page, but hopefully, like you said, it's just a snowball on something that, doesn't cost us any money, has a good organic, there's people out there that aren't normally part of our community that can hopefully stumble upon the videos, and all the extra eyes don't hurt, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
You good?
It's gone great so far.
everybody good?
Yes.
Jamila, are you finished?
Absolutely done.
In more ways than one.
Thank you,
Okay.
folks, I appreciate it.
Thanks, James.
Thank
James.
you.
Thank you.
All right, Timothy.
And just like Elvis, James has left the
Love
studio.
leaving the auditorium. Yeah.
So most of my stuff is stuff that's going to come in action items, so I won't hit too many things if you've already read the report. I would just mention that there's been a lot of time that Deborah and I have spent on going through old disposal equipment stuff that's going to come up on the agenda. We've just got a lot of stuff to work through on the list and go find and pull out and create lots, piles of equipment to put on Gov Deals and get the pictures taken and get all that together. And she's been talking to Gov Deals and setting up the account and all that kind of stuff. So good progress there. And I will say, I'm going to ask the board, I know we're trying to generally kind of do every other month with our meetings. What we'd like to do, just because we're running into a space problem here, is and yet a need to kind of approve some more stuff as we go through disposal. After if the board is agreeable to approve tonight's list, we'd like to do a special meeting of the board in August to approve a list, but we want to do a special meeting because we want to do it as like a Zoom or a WebEx meeting, because after August 1st, we don't have any studio stuff scheduled production-wise that beginning of that month, and if we do a Zoom meeting, we won't have to put this set in place for the board. We want to pile as much gear up here in the studio because we need the space, and try to really knock a lot of stuff off, and then just have a quick special Zoom meeting just to do approval of that list. And then September would be our normal, meeting kind of stuff. So we'd like to look at doing that. I'll get back to everybody and just send out an email with some, a date or two or something like that, and try to schedule that by Zoom or WebEx or what have you, and just have a list like we're about to see on the agenda here. That'll just be as much stuff as we can find between now and then. So I hope that makes sense.
Are we going to vote on a list tonight?
Yes, that's coming
Yeah.
up here on the agenda. So just want to let you know, there's a lot going on with that stuff. And I do want to mention on the podcast stuff, James put together some information, updated our equipment page on our website to promote the podcast studio, that kind of stuff there as well. And other than that, I think everything else can wait till we come up to stuff on the agenda items.
Okay.
So, two other quick, I'm sorry. Yearly budget information submitted to the Department of Local Governments. I also sat down with James and Deborah and walked them through how I've been doing that every year, so that they're on top of that in the coming years and what's going to happen there. Same thing with some insurance updates and application for new insurance each year. Kind of stepped through some of that with James as well, just to know our preparations for transition and all that. So,
Okay.
Now I'm done.
Any questions or comments on that part of the business that we have to go over with Tim?
Is that on the list?
That's
haven't
going to
got
be
that.
a little further down, under new business, item B. So old business, I don't think we have anything, do we?
Correct.
Okay. New business is talking about engaging with Chamberlain and Owens as we typically do for our required audit.
Yep. And the main thing really about this is this would be handled, it's a proposal to handle the same way we've been handling it, and it's got the price in here for the fiscal year end, June 30th, 2025 audit to be $10,500. I think that's a reasonable amount, as everything else has been doing these days. It's a little bit of an increase, but we've been seeing that regularly, and it's still a very good price compared to last time we checked prices on these things. So, so that's good. And I talked to him because my goal would be, I'd like to not wait till, say, March, April to try to get it done for May in the coming year. We're going to shoot for doing this probably January, something like that, to try to move it up, so we're not right up to the last month that it's due.
Yeah, just all within the bounds of the law.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
so in our city, when we go for an audit bid, we get 3 years.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think it would be it's just easier
Yeah.
on everybody just to
3 years at a time.
Yeah.
Are we required to have a yearly audit or?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Local
we would,
government
we would,
requires.
it would just be
We're
the
over
contract.
threshold? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we do at the library as well. We get a 3-year
Yeah.
deal.
We've done that in other years in the past.
Yeah.
It's just the last couple of years, he kind of gave me an engagement letter. I thought, this
Okay.
is easy, let's do it, you know.
Yeah.
But, so I would ask that we just get this moving in the middle of
Yeah.
our transition and do this, and then maybe next year ask for a 3-year,
Right.
maybe do a bid process again or something too, if you need.
Well,
Okay.
I will make the motion that we accept the proposal from Chamberlain Owen to do the 2024-2025 audit.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dave, second by Beth,
That's
or?
fine.
Any
Whatever.
further questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And make a note then to look into that 3-year gig.
Sometimes you get a more reasonable rate
Yeah, it seems
in
like
the
you
next
might.
2 years
Right.
if you stretch
Okay.
it out.
Well,
and
they're
they know-
projecting,
They know they don't have to compete for you
Right.
the next 2 years.
okay.
All right.
Good. So the next item is all about the inventory reduction.
Yep.
So in your packets, you'll find this extensive list.
And a
of-
resolution that basically says, it's this list.
Yeah,
So.
of
yeah.
hardware.
A lot of what you're seeing here, a lot of it's just computers and the accessories that were installed on those computers. That's why there's a lot of detail. Frankly, when they started this back in the late 90s, before I got here, and even the early 2000s, we, of course, didn't have as much of a guideline of any kind of
Don't
disposal
make this
policy.
any longer than the list,
Y-
okay?
Yeah, sure. But some of this stuff should never even been listed. They were, $5 cables and $10, $50
Yeah.
things that are on here. So we're just knocking it off the list. They
Getting
were
rid of
installed
it,
these
yeah.
computers, cleaning it up. So you'll see that stuff in here.
Get it
computers
off
and
the
software.
books.
Yeah. But there's also old cameras. You'll see some on the floor here. They're not even HD. They're that old. They're SD. They were the ones we used to use for sports years ago. They're either obsolete or in many cases broken or partially broken, that kind of thing.
So that's what you're looking at
Yeah.
right in front of us by the snack table.
And also
Is-
there's stuff in our lobby.
Is a lot.
Yeah.
No, I mean a lot, as in
Yes, yes.
group of equipment that would
Yes.
be posted that way and then put up for auction. All this is done according to KRS or administrative regulations. And we've already voted as a board to proceed along this path. What we're doing tonight is approving or putting this up for bid, or essentially for auction. And then if it's, bids are accepted, it goes away, we get a check. If bids aren't accepted or aren't available, we dispose of it. And this is what we were talking about, where we might have a Zoom meeting next month. Well, we will
Correct.
have a Zoom meeting
That would be the
next
goal.
month.
That would be the goal.
Because we do need to keep this process moving on. There's, Excuse me.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just had a question. There's a bid and then opportunity for disposal. Is there an opportunity to recycle some of these e-waste?
We'll look for those opportunities, especially some of the computer and electronics. We think there's places that can help us
Yeah.
do that. Now, there might be some cost. I don't know what that would be, but I'd like to avoid a lot of cost, so, but certainly there's things that we would just throw away.
There is
too.
a company in northern Kentucky that will take,
Okay.
right.
and
Okay.
they
I
won't
think-
charge you to take it.
Okay.
Tech Castle maybe in
Yes, there's
Covington.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
the old Johnny's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right around the corner.
There's also e-waste bins around northern
Yes.
Kentucky that you can drop small
Well, and the
things off.
county does e-waste, and
We
so
do.
does the city
Right.
does.
We were
e-waste
kind of
days.
thinking of that.
Right.
I think we just did
Yeah.
one, but we may do
Yeah, you
another
did.
one.
We just don't want it to end up in a landfill if it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll look for those
Some of
opportunities.
it probably ends
And-
up there anyway.
Yeah,
but-
and Deborah's
Yeah.
been looking for stuff from Rumpke and different places where they'll come and fill up a pickup truck full of stuff, and I think some of them have some e-waste options for us
Right.
too, and,
Right.
got junk kind of people or whatever, those kinds of groups. So I was relying on her to figure out what she likes to do with that, but I'm writing notes here, Tech
Yeah.
Castle and e-waste in the county.
Yeah.
So whatever doesn't sell, we're then authorized to go ahead and, let's just, for lack of a better word, junk it, which could be throwing those stuff away, but we'll, to whatever amount we can do it practicality-wise without huge expense, we'd rather recycle all
Yeah.
old electronics.
Well, the old waste hierarchy,
Yeah.
reduce, reuse,
Yeah,
recycle.
right,
There
right.
there was a little bit of question in my mind. If all this stuff was broken, why did we store it in the first place?
Because we didn't have a disposal policy that was properly written. And that's why we passed that this year. It was just sitting there where there were other things that were being done, and we just didn't get around to putting a proper policy in place on that.
Joe, I would just say it's one of the mysteries of our faith.
And some of it were things that were partly broken there that if we need to, we can repair, but then they became not HD, and they were already stored, and we just didn't pull them back out. So there was stuff like that, so.
And here we are, and this represents a relatively small portion of
Yeah,
this, plus there's stuff in the office, there's
Yeah.
stuff everywhere. So
Yeah.
this
Well,
is
so-
going to be an ongoing
Yeah.
Yeah.
piece of work.
And to Tim and to
course.
Jason's credit, for years you guys were utilizing that stuff to keep
Yes.
stuff running,
Yeah.
going back,
That
and it
is
saved
true.
us money in the long run.
Yes, we did.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like your basement, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
hang on to things just in
we
case.
could repurpose, yeah, and
Yeah.
frankly, a lot of that stuff, like there's old switchers that were SD, and at the time, we pulled them out because we were getting better ones, but they were still SD, so these were backup units.
Right.
Why throw them out or sell them if you might need a backup?
Right.
Which I can tell you, a couple of them we pulled out when that switcher in the control room went bad on election night once. We grabbed one of these old switchers and threw it in there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, there were reasons, okay, but certainly some of it's broken or,
Yeah.
you know.
It's time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's time, and listen, it's one of those things that you, like spring cleaning, that doesn't get done first when you've got other emergencies and you're doing franchising and you're dealing with lawyers and you're dealing with a lot of other things. So this is the time.
Yep.
So we're catching up.
Well, I will make the resolution. We approve, resolution number 2025-04.
I can say.
So Dave and who? Jamila? Joe? Jamila, okay. Jamila.
They can fight over it.
Yeah. Thank you, folks.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Joe, what do you have for us on the new investment account?
I defer to Tim.
Okay. So it's taken a little bit of time the last several weeks just because there's documents back and forth through the portal, and then we wait on them to process, and they send it to us, they wait it for us, and then there was stuff to sign. And frankly, they sent me an e-sign document, and I get so many like scam things that are e-signs that I thought it was somebody else. So they had to call and say, hey, we sent you this. I wish they'd have sent me an email or called me when they sent it, would have got done quicker. But so we got all that signed, and then last week they were working on doing the transfers of the large amounts from each of the accounts over. There was a little fly in the ointment in that it was only approved for I think it was the TBNK account to go to the investment account. So they said, no, we need both accounts able to send it over, because they were like, hey, we'll send it from CPC to TBNK and then over. And it's like, no, let's do it directly. So just little things like that, and we worked it through, and they were very helpful. And so we should be in good shape. I don't know that all of it's transferred yet by the next report you'll get, but it's happening. So,
Okay.
so we should be in good shape there moving forward.
Did you already sell the air conditioner?
It's a lights, these lights in here, yeah, it's getting a little warm, yeah. Video lights, you should have been in here years ago before we had LED and fluorescent video lights, and they were 2,000-watt lights that got really toasty.
Rough.
Okay.
So what's our improved interest rates on this? Is there a major change in what we'll see?
It was a major change, yes.
Yeah, it's not like it's 10%, it's investment, it's probably, I'm gonna guess 3 or 4% generally in that
I
area.
think so.
You might hit
It's
5 if
fine.
you're good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these days it should be
Anything's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
This is a step in the right direction.
More
Yeah.
wisdom from
Thank
the
you,
board.
Joe.
Thank
From the peanut gallery.
you. Yeah. Okay, and thanks to both of you for working on that.
Yes.
Okay, the Vision Committee and the Vision Packet Overview are kind of two different things in my mind. The Vision Committee continues to meet. We'll meet again in August. We're getting within a meeting or possibly two of being able to come back to the board with our results, or I wouldn't necessarily say our conclusions. It's been a longer, more circuitous journey than I expected. And I'm sorry that we haven't been able to give you more material information, but we're moving along, and it's taken longer than I thought, and it's been way more informative than I hoped about actually being able, I think we'll actually be able to come back to you guys and to our shareholders and give you a roadmap based on good, solid data that at least we agree upon as committee members for the future of TBNK. how it can operate, what the financial circumstances should look like. And that's about all I'd really like to say about it at this point. We don't want to let since we are televised, we're not really ready to let the cat out of the bag at the moment until we get a little more definition. So if that's okay with everybody, Tim, you can take us through the packet,
Sure.
if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I can. And I'll just say, I think all those things you said are right on target. I want to compliment our vision committee. I think it's been very useful and a very good, I mean, any group should do a vision thing once in a while. I think there's been a lot of good vision work done on how we can evolve and hopefully prosper as a group going forward. So that's what you see in front of you is maybe some first bits of information out of this process. For some reason, I don't have my copy of the organizational chart, but there you go.
Yeah.
You got an organizational chart that gives you just I mean, it's not very complicated. We're a small group, so I think you can digest that without my walking through it, really. I would just point out the franchise committee is sort of a side thing between the board and the director, in that it's an important part of it when you get into franchising duties and all that, so that's why we kind of put that committee on there as opposed to the other committees that you can kind of understand what they do when they come and go. And then you see, along with that,
Hold on a moment.
Yeah,
Any
go ahead.
questions about the chart? Who's who and why they're there and what that means? Okay, proceed.
cool. And then you'll see there's kind of a list of organization chart franchise duties, this summary that just lists them. And I found that to be, while it's maybe a more precise, exhaustive list, and then the list next to it that's also vertical that says detailed list of non-franchise related duties. That gives you sort of all of them, but I think the more useful one is this 3-column kind of comparison thing, at
Yeah,
least
I
on the
agree.
franchise duties. I took a lot of time kind of going through and trying to sync them sort of beside each other, sort of grouped in a timeline of when they would be happening in sync, whether it's the franchise committee, what they would do when there's certain notices or certain legal proceedings that would have to happen, or a franchise renewal is asked for, or we get a notice to request a transfer of the franchise because the cable company's getting sold again or something like that. So those things all sit in here, and you'll see what the franchise committee does, what the staff, which would be the director and the clerk, would be doing, and then what the legal counsel would be doing as well, kind of side by side as you step through that. And so hopefully that gives everybody kind of a good roadmap. You know, I think we're going to have to be able to rely on the legal counsel and the franchise committee to kind of take the lead on negotiations and decision-making and strategies, and have the staff kind of keep them on track on here's deadlines, here's the notice we've gotten, and certainly be involved in those discussions, but and provide their input as well. But I think there's going to be a little more lead from the franchise committee and the legal counsel going forward on some of those things. So, and we always had a lot of lead from the legal counsel, but I think that he or she, whoever that is at that time, will have to do that, a lot more of that with maybe a little less staff support.
So this is something that would be useful for everybody to become a little bit cognizant with before the visioning committee comes back to give their report, because we kind of use this as a focusing document. Not that this is this isn't the corpus of what we're going to come back with, but it's been helpful.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that, well, before we depart from that, does anyone have any questions or comments at the moment? This will be an open document, so it'll be something we'll be using, maybe not referring to directly, but you may want to refer to form up your own questions or comments on what the visioning committee comes back with.
And no pressure, I don't think, to ask tonight. Take it home, read it. We get back together in August. There'll be opportunities again at that meeting, even if we're on Zoom.
Yeah.
To
Right.
Tonight was
chat
just
more.
a chance to start sharing a little bit more
Correct.
information for you guys to digest. There's nothing that has to be decided about anything. We're just trying to
So one
start
thing
sharing.
that I forgot, in old business, perhaps we should have covered this. Give us an update where we are with the RFP for legal services.
Yeah.
Where we are is I just haven't had time to actually finish writing it up and publishing it. We did talk about that at the last vision committee, that first week of August or sooner, I would get that out. And that the goal is to have it, a deadline by the end of August, that we can make a decision on the proposals we receive back, so that we can come to the September meeting with
With a
a
recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
been
Okay.
kind of working on disposal mostly, and we figured we weren't in a big rush yet on that.
Get your junk gone
Yeah, yeah.
first.
So we've been prioritizing where we're spending the time for now,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Good. Is everybody okay with that so far?
Lots of
All right.
work went into that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Comments from the floor? Gentlemen? Okay. Comments from the chair, I have none, other than to thank Tim for his continued work and the office staff for their continued work. And we're making a little bit of progress on the building with the owner to try to improve the circumstance here and reduce incidents of inconvenience and property damage from maintenance or lack of same. I think that ought to do it for me. Any comments from board members?
I'm glad we took care of my question earlier.
I had a question that, I haven't really watched too much of the channels, and I'm starting to watch the channels. And I was trying to find out when things were on. And the only way right now to find out when something is on one of the channels is, first I looked at the website and there's a schedule on there.
Right.
I looked at that and that hasn't been updated since July of last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then the other thing that I would like to see, and we don't use the guide on the I don't know if you guys
It's
watch it.
physically impossible. That's an argument that many PEG centers have with the cable companies, and particularly here, and it's not unusual in other places too, that this is a broader system than just our member cities. It's Boone, Kenton, Campbell, Cincinnati. It's a regionalized system. So they can't input just our programs. They can't separate ours from Campbell County, from Cincinnati, and all that. So all they get is, here's the PEG.
Well, somebody's doing it, because
Yeah.
Campbell County, all of their channels have that on there.
The name of the show on the lower third thing, or is it on, or they just
When
put it
you
on the
punch the
bulletin?
guide and you go to 12 o'clock,
Mhm.
it brings up the shows that are on their channels.
You're gonna show me what that is, because I think we might be talking about different things. Now, we do have, well, let's.
So like,
show me
if you
when we
have,
get
if you
there.
have the guide and you want to watch this meeting,
Mhm.
it would show up on the guide, and you could go, you want to record it.
Right.
You can record it. Now, if you want to record this meeting, you would have to record 12 hours,
Right,
because it shows up as a 12-hour program.
yeah.
But on Campbell County, they've got all theirs separated out. Each program has their own time slot, and it's up there.
That's not the way it's been explained to us before. We've talked about these things, and I've seen this regularly. They've always said, hey, it's a regional-wide thing. You can't separate it out. That's interesting.
You can sort that out.
I will look into.
I just think it would help with
Well,
help the
sure.
viewers.
Yeah.
Because the only way to now to look, you have to look at the
Yeah,
one
gotta go to the
channel, and it has to,
website.
you have to watch for the slide to come up that this meeting is at whatever time it
Yeah.
is.
Right,
So it's difficult to even try to watch a show.
right. And then with schedules,
Or
we've
know
always.
what shows are available.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also,
Cable
if
guide.
possible, sort of as you're waiting for the show to start, if it is that it had something showing for the 5 minutes beforehand that says, just sort of the board meeting will begin at 6 o'clock, sort of for,
There are-
as it is right now, I think, sort of there's nothing until it starts at
Sure.
the time.
Well, what happens is, sometimes there's shows that are playing right up to that, other times there's not, and there's a gap. We could try to see if we can work something on our bulletin board system, which is computerized, to see if we can get it to show some schedules. It's not as easy as just it sounds, so I'd have to have James look into that. I will see if I can find out what you're talking about with Campbell County, because I've never seen anything on there other than, this is a PEG channel, basically, on that lower third guide. I've never seen Campbell County stuff listed before, so I don't know what.
I think
we but-
they have one channel that lists that way, but then I think they have 6 also.
Yeah,
Where
they have 6 channels.
they have all the shows on there.
When you have time, let's look at that together. I want to see, make sure we're thinking, if I'm seeing the same thing in
Okay.
my mind, because I've always been told that that's pretty much an undoable thing. There's also, and I've seen other PEG channels across the country when we're with the Alliance for Community Media and all that, where they have these same arguments with the cable companies across the country. Some of them are able to get it done, most of them not, because of either this kind of system I was talking about, or also the cost. They want to charge you an exorbitant fee to get it on. And some people can afford that, some people can't, you know. So I'm not sure how Campbell County's got it, because I've never seen that before.
Let's check it out.
But yeah, so
see
we'll
what
look
you
into
can
it.
do
But I
about
want to
that.
make sure I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing, so I know what I'm
Okay.
asking.
Okay.
And then the guide on the website, that's easy to fix, right? Where we
Yeah,
can,
yeah, I know James used and Jason used to put those up on the webpage
Yeah.
when they do the schedules each week. So we'll just have to look at it. I don't know if somehow something got forgot there, that it's that old, so.
I've been
I'll check
looking
it out,
at it for a
James.
couple months, it's the
Yeah.
same one,
Yeah.
it hasn't
Okay.
changed.
Okay.
yeah,
all right.
I always
Okay.
go back and.
Yeah,
And then
The
while we're
old
talking
stuff,
about the
so.
other when when we went to the YouTube channel, TBNK had a YouTube channel from
long
7
time ago.
years.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So I've got that on my, and I'm I'm waiting for you guys to put stuff up on there and nothing ever shows up.
Right.
Well, then I realize you've got a brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can get the other one off there or
Right,
not.
yeah, that's an interesting thing, let's see, find the log on, because it's, you know, we've got a small staff, so sometimes people
Yeah.
set up something, start using it, and then they lost the login, and you can't
Right, right.
delete it, and so, you know.
That's what I assumed
We're not a
happened.
network channel with $1 million budgets, so sometimes things like these get a little bit lost in the cracks of everything else we're chasing, so, so I will check, let's see.
We're
Other
getting rid
YouTube-
of him in March anyway,
Yeah,
so.
sure, so it'll be even smaller.
Oh, gosh.
Other YouTube channel. delete.
Anything else? I want to thank each of you for taking the time to attend this meeting and say that for me, it's refreshing and encouraging that board members are becoming more vocal, and we're actually starting to have discussions, and maybe someday, some fine day, we may have a dissenting vote. So how about a motion for adjournment?
So move.
A
Motion-
second.
Motion by Joe, second by Jamila, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, and thank you, gentlemen.